Hello everyone, welcome to Hamska Academy. This is Seshu Chira, welcome you to Hamska Academy. Today we are going to discuss about the topic outcomes of democracy. The topic is outcomes of democracy. So in this chapter we will be learning what outcomes can we reasonably expect of democracy. What does democracy do? And we will also discuss as democracy fulfills these expectations in real life. Generally, we are going to discuss what does democracy do, or what outcomes can we reasonably expect of democracy, and also democracy fulfill these expectations in real life. So let us see, how do we assess democracy's outcome? As we all know, we discussed in grade 9, chapter 2, that democracy is one of the best methods. We felt democracy was best. Why? Because it promotes the equality among the citizens. Democracy promotes the equality among the citizens. There is no discrimination among the citizens in democracy. Everybody is treated equal. It enhances the dignity of the individual. Secondly, it enhances the dignity of the individual. Every individual is respected in democracy. Every individual is given equal value. At the same time, it improves the quality of decision making through discussions and understanding each other's viewpoints. There is a chance of having good quality of decision making, and it provides a method to resolve conflict. In democracy, through negotiation, we can solve any complicated problem, and it allows to correct our mistakes. That is the reason why we thought in grade 9 that democracy is one of the best forms of government. The reasons are: it promotes equality among the citizens, enhances the dignity, improves the quality of decision making, provides a method to resolve the conflicts, and also allows room to correct the mistakes. Now, coming to understanding the outcomes, over the 100 years, more than 100 countries in the world today claim and practice some kind of democratic politics. Over the 100 countries, more than 100 countries today, they follow democratic setup. They have formal constitution. They hold elections. They have political parties. They guarantee rights, which are the common features of democratic setup. While these features are common to most of them, these democracies are very much different from each other in terms of their social situation, economic achievement, and culture. So, what may be achieved or not achieved under each of these democracies will be different from one democracy to another democracy. So we are saying that now more than 100 countries are following democracy today. They have constitution, they hold elections, they have political parties, they guarantee rights. But every country has a different socio-cultural situation. What can be expected from one democratic country that cannot be expected from the other democratic setup? There is a lot of difference, though they are following the democracy in all the countries. Now, in order to understand this clearly, we need to know that democracy means we started with the idea of living in democracy, that is, thinking carefully about democracy. When we think carefully about democracy, in order to understand the outcomes of democracy, we need to recognize that democracy is just a form of government. It is not only form of government, it creates a certain condition for achieving something. Democracy is a form of government, yes. To be straight and clear, it is only a form of government, but it also creates a condition for achieving something. Now, citizens have to take the advantage of those conditions and they have to achieve the goals. Democracy is a form of government. Democracy gives you the chances to achieve something, but you as a citizen have to take the advantage of that, and you need to, if you don't take the advantage and you don't achieve them, then democracy alone cannot bring changes in the society. Accountable, responsive, legitimate government. So there is something that democracy must provide. In a democracy, we are most concerned with ensuring that people will have right to choose their rulers and people will have control over them. One, in democracy, that they have right to choose the government. Two, they can control the rulers. Whenever it is possible, citizens should be able to participate in the decision making process. If they don't participate, the efficiency of the decision making will become, because most basic outcome of democracy is what is produced by the government that should be accountable to the citizens. Whatever decisions the government is taking, that should be accountable to citizens, and they should be responsive to the needs and expectations of the citizens. Any government in democracy, they should involve public, they should involve citizens to give their say in the decision making process. Then that will become the best democratic practice. If the democracies are not involving the citizens, then they are not accountable to citizens. Because here you need active involvement of the citizens. Tomorrow when you go back for elections, citizens will decide whether you should be in the government or not through elections. That's why we need to make them participate. We need to look at the need. We need to respond for the responses what of the citizens are giving, what the expectations are there for the citizens. So, if we don't do this, then definitely democracy will not be like actual democracy. Democracy means deliberation. Democracy is based on majority opinion, that is public opinion. So they can be very quick and efficient in decision making and implementation, but democracy takes time, deliberation, negotiation. Some amount of delay will happen, it's bound to happen, but the governments are efficient. When you take the non-democratic government, the decisions will be quick, the involvement of the public will be minimal. They can be taking decisions very fast without any delay, but there is no room or no space for correction of the democratic government will take time to follow the procedures before arriving at any decision. They have step-by-step process. They discuss at every public forum. They debate. They come to some conclusions. They come up with some suggestions. The opposition party brings up some points. Again, they discuss all these things, and then they come to the final approval. So it may take more time, and it should be acceptable to people, and it should be more effective. That should be the ultimate aim of a democratic decision. If democracy is not able to give a proper decision to the public, then that will bounce back on them only. That's why in democracy, they take utmost care before they decide anything, and then they come to some conclusion. It can cost some time. Of course, in democracy, definitely it will cost some time. There is delay in decision making, but there is a chance that you find the outcomes of democracy are clearly discussed, debated, and brought. So any decision checks all the areas, and there is a mechanism for a democratic government to know which areas are flaws in a lawmaking process. The opposition party's role is to find out where there are mistakes, as we learned in the political parties. That mistakes will be brought to the notice of the government. We can also expect that the democratic government develops a mechanism for citizens to hold the government accountable and mechanism for citizens to take part in decision making whenever they think it's fit. Whenever it's needed, they can involve in that and give their say. If we wanted to measure the democracy, there are certain criteria what we need to consider before we understand the outcomes of democracy, especially certain practices and certain institutions. Regular elections, free and fair elections, open public debate on major policies, and we will also look at the legislation, citizens' rights, and information about the government and its functioning. These actually give us the information about the democratic setup, how the elections are going, how the legislation process is happening, how the citizens are getting the information about the laws. When you study all these things, democracies have greater success in setting up of regular and free elections. They set up regular and free elections and set up the conditions for open public debate during the times of election. But only in few democracies there is a short of election time, and they provide a fair chance for everyone in subjecting every discussion or every decision to public debate. The democratic governments do not have very good record when it comes to sharing of the information. Most of the information is not shared with the public. So substantive terms in it may be responsible to expect from democracy a government that is attentive to the needs of the public, to the demands of the public, so that it is largely free of corruption. The record of democracies is also not impressive when it comes to the democracy corruption aspect. There is a lot of corruption, and often democracies ignore majority of the opinions or people's needs. This is one aspect which certainly is not good for democracy. So the routine tales of corruption stories are enough to convince us that the democracy is not free from the evil of corruption. There is a lot of corruption even in non-democratic countries as well, but that is less when compared to democratic countries. More sensitive towards the people. The non-democratic countries consider being sensitive towards the people, when the non-democratic countries, they are okay. But one aspect or in one respect, democratic government is certainly better than its alternatives is that democratic government is a legitimate government. Democratic government is a legitimate government. It may be slow, it may be less legitimate, it may be less efficient, not always very responsive, corrupt, but a democratic government is people's own government. Who elects them? Public. With the overwhelming majority, they support the democratic government. So democratic governments are the legitimate governments in the world. They might be slow in lawmaking. They might be less efficient. There might be no response for certain people's concerns. They might be corrupt, but they are very, very legitimate governments, very popular governments when compared to all the other governments. People wish to be ruled by the representatives whom they have elected. So they are also believing that democracy is suitable for their country. Democracy's ability is to generate its own support in itself, and the outcome cannot be ignored at all. Though you claim that democracy is not having good leadership stability, but it's always having public acceptance. So democracy is preferred over dictatorship everywhere except in Pakistan. Only in Pakistan there is dictatorship which is preferred. But rest of all the South Asian countries, we have preference for democracy rather than dictatorship. Economic growth and development. When it comes to the economic growth and development, if you consider all the democracies from 1950s to 2000, the dictatorships have slightly, little bit of higher rate of economic growth when compared to democracy. Yes, the inability of democracy to achieve higher economic growth worries us. Yes, it is a serious concern. But this alone cannot put the reason for rejecting democracy. Because if you consider from 1950 to 2000, in the past 50 years, dictatorship governments have shown little bit of better economic growth when compared to democracy. But the economic growth does not depend only on government. There are many other factors that have to be considered to know about the economic growth. For economic development, we need to consider the country's population, size, global situation, cooperation from the other countries, economic priorities adopted by the countries. So these all factors play a major role in the economic development of a country. However, the difference in the rates of economic development between the less developed and with the dictatorships and democracies is negligible, 0.%, 0.5%, 0.1% like that. So the difference is also not much. But at the same time, we can say that democracy is a guarantee of economic development, but democracy not to lag behind dictatorship in this respect. Democracy will definitely bring development. Economic growth is also possible through democracy, but a slight variation can be seen in the dictatorship governments, little bit higher when compared to the democratic government. And we also find that the countries which are under the dictatorship and democracy, it is better to prefer democracy as it has several other positive outcomes. Because as we all know, if we talk about the dictatorship, no citizen will have freedom, no rights, no equality. Then for the slight percentage of economic growth, how can we compromise on the rights of the individual? You will be pressurized to do certain things which you don't like. But in democracy, there is no such pressure. That's why most of the people and the countries prefer to have democratic government over the dictatorship, because rights are guaranteed. You have freedom, freedom of opinion, freedom of expression, freedom of faith in democratic setup. That's why democracy is always preferred over the dictatorship government. So coming to the reduction of inequality and poverty. The reduction of inequality and poverty, is it good in democracy? Is the democratic distribution good? Is it giving economic growth in democracy, or it has increased inequalities in the public? Democracy is based on political equality. We all need to know this point very clearly. Democracy is based on political equality only. It is not based on economic equality. They strive to bring economic equality. All individuals have equal weight in electing the representatives. That is the political equality. Parallel to the process of bringing individuals into the political arena on an equal footing, we find economic inequality. A small number of ultra rich enjoy a high disproportionate share of wealth in democracies, especially. We have in democracies political equality. Political equality means all individuals will have equal importance in electing the representatives. Parallel of to this, one side if you have the political equality, the other side you see individuals with huge economic wealth. Small portion of people hold large share of wealth. So this is one point where we cannot defend our democracy. Sometimes the incomes of the majority of the people who are below the poverty line have started to decline. They are finding it difficult to meet their basic needs: food, clothing, housing, and even education and health have become very, very difficult for them in democracy. We already studied about poverty in grade 9, how there is a lot of inequality in our democratic society. Yet, the poor constitute a large proportion of our voters. No party will like to lose their votes, but democratically elected governments do not appear as to be as keen to address the question of poverty as you would expect them to do. Though they need the support of the sections of the poor, but they are not trying to address the problem. The situations are worst in the countries like Bangladesh, where more than half of the million population live in poverty. The people in several poor countries now depend on the resources of the rich countries even for food. So, small share of the rich people own the large assets of the world. Globally, this is the situation. Coming to accommodation of social diversity. So, no society can fully and permanently resolve the conflict among the different groups. Democracy usually develops a procedure to conduct about their competition, how the election should happen. They reduce the possibility of tensions becoming explosives or violent. In democracy, there is always a chance for negotiations, for discussions, and try to solve the problems. But when you see in the non-democratic setup, we don't find that. We don't say that in democracy all the problems are sorted. No society can fully and permanently resolve all the conflicts. There will always be one or the other issues that are happening. So it is very, very important for us to understand that democracy is not a simple rule by majority. The majority always needs to work with the minority. We always don't go by the majority opinion only. We also take into consideration the minority, and the government functions representing the general view, which is a combination of the majority and the minority opinion. Why we need to do like this? Because majority and minority are not permanent in democratic setup. For one term, if the majority is X, the next term the majority will be Y and X may become minority. That's why there are no permanent minorities or majorities. We need to accommodate everybody, and we need to take a general point or a general view about the issue which has been brought to the notice of the government. And coming to the second important point, it is necessary that rule of the majority does not become rule by majority community in terms of religion, race, or language. That should not be the case, because we have seen the examples of Sri Lanka where the particular religion dominating the others, that will lead to civil war. So rule by the majority means that in case of every decision, in case of every election, the different groups, different persons may participate and form a majority. Democracy remains democracy only as long as every citizen has a chance of being in majority at some point of time. It should not be always left out. Only a one particular group should not dominate the entire scenario of democracy. It should be one group with other group, or one group changing with the other group. Then it is actually a democratic setup. So democracy always accommodates people from different groups, different backgrounds, diverse natured people, and form them as group, and then as the democratic way of electing and doing the things. So in this chapter, we learned what are the outcomes. We tried to understand, is democracy a good form of government or not? In the economic terms, accountability, responsive nature, legitimacy, and also accommodative nature. So democracy has a little bit of low record when it comes to transparency, when it comes to economic growth, when it comes to the decision making, it is a little bit delayed. But it has many other positives when compared to the dictatorship form of government or non-democratic forms of government. That's all we have in this chapter. Stay tuned. Please subscribe.